Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome to another day of spoilers. So we got some interesting ones today. Basically, it's all support for Reiya, which is pretty awesome with the mystery counters and all of that. Although there's some other, obviously, uses they could be outside of Reiya, but that's their main purpose, at least on the outset. So we'll go ahead and get right into them. So first up we have a Resonator Grim of the Crimson Moon. It's a 3-cost 7/7 fairy tale slash vampire, so it's cool we're getting some fairy tale stuff in here. He has flying and barrier against light and dark chance and abilities. And he has the effect of when he enters the field, you get to reveal any number of fairy tale resonators from your hand. And he gets a 100/100 counter on him for every single card revealed that way. So right off the bat, just if, like, say you're doing a deck outside of Reiya, like my Million 1.0 deck with fairy tale resonators basically all throughout it, or if you're running a deck Million or otherwise that runs the Grim from the Vingolf 3 that turns every single resonator into your basically that you own into a fairy tale. Playing this card and say you have 5 resonators and you have that other Grim on your field, suddenly you get 5 100 counters on there, and he's at 12/12 and it's counter, so Bear Magic isn't as effective against it. So he also has the ability of whenever this card attacks, you get to put 2 mystery counters on your J Ruler. So that was always one of the big problems with Reiya, was just the inconsistent way that she could put mystery counters on there. It just wasn't it didn't feel very strong enough at the relation of how many mystery counters she could gain versus how much she needed to spend in order to stay viable. So this is one way. Every time he attacks, you get to gain 2 mystery counters just passively. And whenever you do Judgment of a Ruler, you may remove 2 mystery counters from your J Ruler. And if you do, you invert this card. So once again, we get that inversion that we talked about during the first spoilers. It's coming back around. So we're getting the idea that obviously this card could be used in an invert deck, but it can be used outside of that as well. And it inverts over to Grim, Hope from the Future. So he's a 1,000,000 fairy tale human slash inverse with, once again, flying and barrier against light and darkness. And when this card inverts, target non-magic stone entity loses imperishable and, quote, this card cannot be destroyed, unquote, until end of turn, then destroy that entity. And cards in your opponent's graveyard lose all abilities. So, suddenly, this is really great because it gets rid of basically, Ayu's dead with this card. Nothing you can really do about it. It's able to counter this card cannot be destroyed, which counters a lot of other types of J Rulers. I believe it counters Fox and, for instance, and things with Imperishable. I assume that means we're going to get more J Rulers with Imperishable outside of just Ayu, or more effects that give them Imperishable in order to make this viable outside of just countering Ayu. And also the cards in your opponent's graveyard lose all abilities is a really good counter, especially with a lot of the cards that we've seen, and some of them that I think there were some that were spoiled that would affect as well. But that's just an all-around great card, considering that the first side only costs 3 and it's already pretty strong on its own, and then it basically flips for 2 mystery counters when you're already J activating. It's a really great card, I think. Next we have Bloodsucking Butler, Reiya's attendant. It's a 3-cost 7/7 vampire. You get to tap him to put a mystery counter on your J Ruler. Once again, getting in with that mystery counter buffing up. Not the best as far as like what you're spending versus what you're getting if you're just using him for that tap ability. But he has a passive ability of remove a mystery counter from your J Ruler. Target J Resonator gains -2/-2 until end of turn. So that's pretty cool. Now that we're getting more consistent mystery counter creation, we're able to more consistently use abilities like this more frivolously, you know what I mean, and it works on J Rulers, so you're able to sort of remove a bunch of mystery counters. If you have a bunch to kill a J Ruler or a pesky Resonator, you can do it in response to a blocker for a game-winning kill. A lot of different things that could be seen out of it. Not as strong as the previous 3-cost in my opinion, but I think it's still really good. Next we have Revival of the Clans, 1-cost chant mystery, and put target Resonator from your graveyard into your hand. Obviously that's great for pretty much any dark deck, not just Reiya. It's great for even things like Fox decks to help bounce those things back into your hand to put back into your field. And its Awakening is you get to remove a mystery counter if you want from your J Ruler, and you get to basically just add another Resonator. So you're grabbing 2 Resonators instead of 1 from your graveyard. So that being able to fish out of your graveyard is always great in my opinion, especially for Resonators that are either low cost, maybe high cost, that you didn't want to die early, or it has an enter effect you want to trigger again. Or if you're splashing, or you have to now, but since you're splashing green already into whatever deck you're building, you can, the 3 cost that when it goes to the graveyard, it searches your deck for any card you want. You can grab that back into your hand, so you don't have to search your deck for another one of that card. You can search your deck for any card, play this, put that back into your hand to play it next turn to get that enter effect again and just keep that cycle going. And lastly, we have Soul Concentration. So this is a 1 cost quick cast chant. Choose one. Put 3 mystery counters on your J ruler, or put 2 100 counters on target J Resonator you control. So this obviously, in my opinion, is something you would run a playset of in your Reiya deck. Being able just to pay 1 with quick cast and getting 3 mystery counters, and as we mentioned before, they're starting to get a lot of use out of them now, is really strong. So now we got this consistent ramp up with mystery counters. If you're already good on mystery counters, you do have the secondary effect to put counters on a J Resonator you control, which is really nice. I like having that secondary option. Similar to the 1 cost chant that I use in Ancient Magic decks, that you can pay 1 and it either puts counters onto your card, Ancient Magic counters, or it has a secondary effect where instead you could do 400 damage to a Resonator. So I like that as secondary effects because maybe I'm already good on Ancient Magic counters, or I really need that extra damage. Same with here, although in this case, if you have the other Resonator on the field, technically those 3 mystery counters, you'd get -6/-6 out of it if you want to think about it in that context as well. But yeah, it's cool that we're getting some Reiya support. She already has some potential. And I was just curious what her sealed ability was. I felt like it hinged on that. But with this amount of support finally, I think that she's already going to start to come onto her own, even if we don't get her sealed ability in the next set and they're waiting for the next set after that for some reason or something along those lines. But I'm pretty excited about the darkness. Yeah, pretty cool. We'll see you guys tomorrow.